Hi, my little chocolate cookies. Yeah, it's me, looking pretty awful because I've been exercising today. I walked 4 miles earlier, and I know you got outside and exercised too. So I have a story about some very little creatures who are exercising quite a bit. You'll see. Here we go. Whoops. Cece's having a little trouble with my camera. Okay. Hold on just a second. See if that helps. Does that help? Yeah, I hope so. Okay. The ant and the elephant. One morning, a tiny little ant crawled up a tall blade of jungle grass for a view of the river. All at once, he was caught by a breeze that sent him sailing off into the swirling water. Just when it seemed he would be swept downstream and gone forever, the ant grabbed onto a snag and scrambled to safety. There the ant remained, stranded, wondering what he would do when he spied a mud turtle creeping along the riverbank. "Oh, Mr. Hardshell," called the ant in his wee small voice, "would you be so kind as to give me a lift back to my dry land? It's a nice day for a swim." The old turtle turned his head slowly. After a long look at the ant, he said, "I've had my swim for today, and besides, if I went racing about helping people who would be in trouble, I'd have no time to relax." Then the turtle tottered on his way to find a place where he could sun himself. When the turtle came to a flat, warm rock, he crept slowly up the edge. Suddenly, he went toppling backward and landed upside down. "Blast it all," he muttered. "Dad blame it." And he began thrashing about, with his legs desperately trying to right himself. But all that kicking could do was to send him rocking about on his shell. That was all. As he stretched his stringy neck, looking about for help, the turtle spied a hornbill bird roosting on her nest high on a tree limb. "Oh, Mrs. Big Bill, would you mind helping me back to my feet? With one flip of your beak, I'm sure you could do it." "I could," snapped the bird, "but I won't. This'll teach you not to be so clumsy." As she leaned down to say more, the hornbill bird tipped the nest, and her one big egg rolled out to go tumbling all the way to the ground. Luckily, it landed in a clump of fluff-tufted weeds, without so much as a crack. "Thank goodness," she cried when she found the egg all in one piece. Then, seizing it in her beak, she fluttered her wings as she tried to take off. But her oversized beak plus the cumbersome egg were too much of a load. Still, she kept on furiously thrashing in the air until her wings were worn to a frazzle. As the miserable bird sat there staring helplessly at the egg, a giraffe came striding along. "Oh, Mr. Greatneck," she called, "you've come just at the right time. If I perched on your head with the egg in my beak, you should carry us back to my nest." "Indeed, no," scoffed the proud giraffe. "If I did such a thing, how silly I would look. I'll have no one laughing at me." "No, indeed." And Mr. Greatneck went on his way with his head held high, nibbling at the treetops. He was so intent upon the tasty leaves, he didn't notice the tangle-dangle vine until it was twisted up around one leg. "Here now," snortled the giraffe with an angry kick. "How dare you?" The kick merely gave the vine an extra twist, which tightened its grip. Then, in a fury, the giraffe began kicking wildly about with all four legs. The more he kicked, the more entangled he became. Finally, his legs were so tightly tied up in the vine that he couldn't budge. He's all stuck, see? As he stood there in the tangle, he spied a lion heading his way. What good luck, thought the giraffe. With those great claws of his, he could rip this vine to shreds in one swipe. "Oh, Mr. Big Paw," he called, "just look at me." The lion took one look, then burst into great roaring laughter. "Ha, ha, ha, that's funny. Ha, ha, I see what you mean. Ha, 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 ha." And he laughed merrily as he went on his way through the jungle. The lion was still laughing to himself as he flopped down in a patch of shade for a bit of a cat nap. He flopped down with such a whoomp, it upset a huge boulder, which was all set to topple. To the lion's surprise, it rolled over and came down right on his tail. Ah! With a furious roar, he leaped to his feet, tugging frantically to free himself. But he soon found it was useless to struggle. He could never get loose unless he was willing to part with his tail. As he sat there growling over his bad luck, a rhino came along. "Oh, Mr. Horny Head," he called, "would you mind bumping this stupid boulder off my tail? One nudge of your great snout would do it." "I would," said the rhino, if you could think of some way to return the favor." "Well, right now," said the lion, "all I can think of is my poor tail." "Too bad," said the rhino, and he went lumbering off through the trees. The rhino never bothered to watch where he was going. With a great horn out front, he went plowing straight ahead through the brambles and brush, when all of a sudden, zoom, he blundered head on into a stump with his great horn sticking deep into it. "Out of my way, you stupid stump," he snorted. And with a furious lunge, he tried to knock over the stump. This drove his horn still deeper. Then with a mighty tug, he tried pulling himself free, but the stump refused to let go. At last the rhino realized that he was hopelessly stuck. So the rhino and the lion, the giraffe, the hornbill bird, the turtle, and the ant were all left in deep trouble. That would have been all, except a jolly big somebody decided to take a stroll through the jungle that day. Who's that jolly big somebody? Here he is. It was a huge elephant with such a great spreading ears he could hear the slightest sounds, the faint rustle of a leaf, the least snap of a twig, or even the tiny voice of an ant calling out. He reached his long trunk out over the river, inviting the ant to climb aboard, and then carried the ant safely back to dry land. "How can I ever thank you?" cried the grateful ant. "Ah, it was no big thing," said the elephant. "But it was a big thing for me. It was everything." And he scurried away through the grass. "If you got time to bother with nothing of an ant," grumbled the old turtle, "how about me?" "You are in a pickle," said the elephant, and with the tip of his trunk he flipped the turtle back on his feet. Then, without a word of thanks or anything, the old codger went tottering away down the bank to disappear in the river. "If you can help an ugly old turtle," squawked the hornbill bird, "then at least you can do is put my lovely egg back in my nest." "Well, the very least I can do," agreed the elephant, and holding the egg gently in his trunk, he carried it up to the nest. "It's a wonder you didn't crack it," snapped the bird as she settled down onto the egg. "Say now," chuckled the elephant when he came upon the giraffe, That's what I call a funny fix. Not funny to me, snorted the giraffe. Not funny one bit. Well, then I'll try not to laugh, said the big fellow, searching through the vine with his trunk to get at the worst of the tangle. It took a few minutes to undo the dozens of knots that gripped the long legs, and once they were loose, the vine fell limply to the ground. Well, I must say it's about time, snorted the snooty giraffe as he went gallipity-clopping away. What have we here? Asked the elephant when he came to the lion. We have a big, stupid, bumbling boulder, growled the lion. That's what. Well, then be off, stupid boulder. And the huge tusker heaved the boulder into the air with his trunk and sent it tumbling away. Once he was free, the lion gave his tail a few switches to make sure it was working. What a relief! Someday when I'm in a better mood, I must remember to thank you. No hurry, said the elephant. He continued on his way through the jungle when he soon found the hopelessly stuck rhino. I can pull you free, said the elephant, if your tail can stand one mighty tug. Right now it's my snout I'm worried about, groaned the rhino, so jerk away. Gripping the rhino's tail tightly in his trunk, the elephant reared back, and with one almighty jerk, the rhino went sailing free of the stump to land in one big blump. That was one whale of a jerk, said the rhino. I hope you got some fun out of it. It was a pleasure, smiled the elephant as he went merrily on his way. Merrily on his way, here he goes. He was enormously pleased with himself after all the good deeds he had done that day. Everyone has his troubles, he chuckled. Everyone but me. I'll never get into a fix where I need help. That's one thing for sure. But the elephant didn't suspect that there was a deep ravine just ahead. It was too well hidden by the ferns. Uh-oh. Before he knew it, he had tumbled straight into it, landing with a 7-ton thud that shook the whole jungle. He was wedged so deep and in such a position that his big trunk and his legs were useless. It serves me right, he muttered, for feeling so almighty and big and all-powerful. Now I'm the one that needs help. Help! 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 Then he waited anxiously for a reply. He waited for hours, staring up at the sky until it faded into evening and deep stillness settled over the jungle. It was so quiet, his great spreading ears caught the sound of footsteps, tiny, tiny footsteps, from somewhere above. Who's there? Asked the elephant. It's me, said a small wee voice. The ant you rescued this morning, and all of my ant friends, 95,000 of them. I know ants are amazingly strong, said the elephant, but surely you don't expect to lift me out of here. We can try, said the ant. Come on, my friends, let's get to work. Suddenly, down the steep wall of the ravine, came a teeming horde of ants swarming under the elephant. Then all together they began chanting, heave ho, up you go, up you go. And to the elephant's amazement, he felt himself moving upward. Slowly but surely, just an inch at a time, the tireless ants hoisted their huge burden up the wall. Heave ho, up you go, don't lose your grip, don't anybody trip. And at last, under a bright full moon, they set the elephant down in the scatterflat ferns. That was tremendous, cried the elephant. I can't believe it. It was nothing, replied the 95,000 ants. Nothing for you, said the elephant, but a mighty big thing for me. Now, if you'll climb aboard, I'll give you a ride back to your ant hill. Not a bit tired, said one ant, but I would like a ride. I've never ridden on an elephant. Neither have I, cried all the others, and they swarmed up the elephant's legs onto his back. Then away they went, harumpity bumpity clumpity hump, the mighty big and the mighty small, off through the jungle together. Night, night, my chocolate cookies.